Hello and welcome. This is Karin Eglinton. What you're about to hear is the recording from one of my psychic readings with a client, which she very graciously has allowed me to make public. This reading is with someone I'm meeting for the first time. All I know about this client in advance is her name and location, and a couple of facts she's sharing with me during the call related to her questions and intentions for having this reading. The recording is unedited, other than me cutting out a couple of identifying details for the client's privacy, and the short period in which I meditate for a few minutes during the call to put me in the right space for psychic reading. My hope in sharing this with you is that as you listen, you'll get a good feeling for what the process of a reading can look like. As a professional in this field, I realize there are a lot of myths and strange ideas about what psychic work entails. What better way to dispel those urban legends than to show you what a real session is like? You'll see my style is a bit unique. Even though I'm able to hold a conversation with my client, I'm in what I call a light trance. It's a state of mind that's quite different from my normal waking awareness. Plus, the meandering process reflects the way intuitive information comes through for me. I would even say this is what intuition is like for most of us. If you've ever thought or expected that intuitive knowing arrives fully formed, well, this isn't like that at all. I hope you'll find the experience interesting and inspiring. If you'd like to work with me in one of these sessions, you'll find all the information you need in the video description below.
Off, right?
Yeah, video off is so much better because I've been meditating prior to the session to get myself in the right space for this. And so if I get into kind of like social mode, then it just jams.
I see. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
The two things don't combine well. Like I can sometimes do it, but it's really just better for me to kind of stay inward and also not to have any kind of visual cues distracting me because I'll be having my eyes closed and paying attention to the images that come up in my mind's eye. So I also will want to hear what your intention is for the session, if you have specific questions or like a broader intention, anything that you want to share with me in advance.
Okay.
So how
Yeah. So
we do that first, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the flow of the session.
okay. Okay. So yeah, I would say I have like a broader intention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are things going on, like I could tell you just a tiny bit, like
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So this week I just moved into a magical house, like a
Mm-hmm.
4-floor big villa, which has been a dream for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're renting it and we're creating a circling collective, so like a conscious collective here. So I'm living here with 3 friends.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, and it's I have this amazing room with windows in the roof, looking up to the sky, and just getting installed here. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
big change. So changing from living by myself to going into the collective. And we want to create a lot of conscious events and so on here. So hoping for it to be like a hub for those kind of things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm super, super thrilled.
I bet.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I'm at a workplace where I don't feel like I'm not in the right place there. So I would like
Mm-hmm.
to move on, but I don't see exactly to where.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would love to be kind of my own boss through my own company. I have a company as a holistic coach,
Mm-hmm.
but for now, it's just kind of, I'm not actively working on that
Mm-hmm.
because I have my employment where yeah, takes
Mm-hmm.
up most of my energy, so to speak.
I
So I would
understand.
really love a transition to be more my own in some way, but
Mm-hmm.
I've a hard time to see how I could make that happen, like
Mm-hmm.
where to start and so on. And uh, and then I'm in a process of becoming a mom by myself. Like I've been wanting a partner and yeah, been searching for a partner for many years, but he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't like showed up. So now I'm in the process of becoming a mom through IVF,
Mm-hmm.
and I really, really, really want to become a mom, but I'm not 100% sure of this way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big process I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, yeah, that's like the overall. I'm not in like any partnership right now. I have a few men that I'm seeing, but yeah, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where they will go. So also like very curious about relationship. Um, yeah, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about my life at the moment, but there's also like the bigger theme of kind of life purpose and yeah, kind of spiritual purpose.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What?
Oh, that's all good. I'm just it just yes, that's of course a very big
Yeah.
overarching thing that everything else kind of falls under, right? Downstream.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm living my life very much from the spiritual perspective, like yeah, incarnated as a human to kind of learn and evolve spiritually.
Yeah.
Um, and care a lot about like making the most out of it. Um,
Mm.
yeah, that's yeah. I don't know if you want to know
Well,
more. It's like
no, no,
main
we don't need
themes of
more.
my life right now.
These are the big arenas that you're looking at. So my question would be, so of all the things that you just shared, what's the most pressing one that you'd like me to look at? I feel as though maybe we could cover more than one, but I can never tell beforehand because, it's like somebody comes in with one question, let's say, tell me how to sort out my partnership with my husband.
Yeah, yeah,
And it could take us 2 hours, just on
yeah.
that question because so much comes up. And sometimes
Mm.
somebody is like, oh, I'd love to cover A, B, C, D, and then we can cover all the things in one session.
Yeah, yeah, I see
So,
that. So what comes to me immediately then
mhm,
is leadership,
mhm,
that I feel I'm being called to step into kind of the next step in my leadership, and it's both about becoming a mom. It's also about developing my company,
mhm. Got it.
like finding my own path ahead. And it's also about the collective because we're going to invite a lot of people here to hold different kind of spaces and workshops and so on. So there will also be kind of an emphasis on leadership in that. So
Absolutely.
and I'm also doing a facilitator training right now in circling, like relational
Mhm.
mindfulness. So, and I'm gonna be in that training for 6 months. So that's also a big part of my life right now. So there's a lot of things that I see somehow linked to me being a leader in my own life and also kind of guiding others.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So then we'll take that as the focus. And then if we can, we'll cover or if it shows up organically and if we're able to, or we have the extra time, we'll kind of look more closely at some of these other arenas and you can tell me which one comes up for you as the most pressing one at the time.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so I would like phrase it like what's important for me to know when stepping into this next phase of my leadership, something like that.
What is important for you to know when stepping into the next phase of your leadership? Okay, great. Beautiful. Then we'll take that intention, bring it into the reading, and then we'll see how it unfolds. And I love hearing all the things that you're working on and that you're just working in the realm of consciousness and spiritual development and bringing all of that beautiful energy into all these different areas of life, arenas of life development that you're in. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, so then let me tell you a little bit about the logistics of how I normally do this so that you're oriented to the process, and then we'll get started. Um, so how I normally work is through I use my clairvoyance as a primary kind of guiding point, and then let all my other psychic senses sort of take over as I focus on the clairvoyance. And you'll see exactly what that means in a few minutes. But because of that, as I mentioned, I have my eyes closed. I'm sort of in a light trance, and I'll be first kind of connecting with your energy, and then letting the images, the flow of images, start showing me things about your intention. A snapshot at the moment of what we can know about this intention, this big question that you've shared. So uh my mind is quirky, I can tell you that. And so I feel like my unconscious mind loves to serve me up some just very quirky images.
Yeah,
Sometimes, they can be
I
like
like that.
it can be very beautiful, very transcendent, but a lot of times they're also very whimsical or silly. So just be warned, that's the
Yeah,
case.
yeah, yeah.
Glad that you're resonating with that already.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and so what I like to tell everybody, and again, because you've already had readings, like you're probably kind of more of a veteran in this, but I like to tell everybody at the start, don't worry about the images making sense to you, because it's my job to
Mm,
make them make sense. So if I tell you, I'm closing my eyes and I'm seeing a pink elephant for you, it doesn't
yeah.
need to mean anything. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to mean that you've seen a pink elephant, or that they're meaningful to you, or that they represent something for you. It could be, but that's just one slice of the possibility.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I totally get that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then my work throughout the session is that I'm going to engage with the images that are coming to me with all my psychic senses, to touch them and feel them and immerse myself in them, and tell you more about what these sometimes cryptic images actually represent, and in that way peel the layers of meaning. A lot of times the images do represent multiple things, like an intersection of different areas of meaning. So I will say, okay, this image represents something, and I'll start telling you about it, and then another layer of it will open up, and then I'll say, okay, and it also means something else. So that can also happen. And
Yeah.
because of this process, just like a very organic, dynamic, flowing process, I will be talking most of the time with some pause points, but really just kind of describing and narrating for you everything that I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Um, so the way that you're welcome, of course, to agree with what I'm saying, disagree with what I'm saying, say something out loud, pause me, or laugh or cry. Any expression or emotion that you have on your side is welcome, and
Mhm.
you can at any point kind of say, interject. Even though I'm just going to be talking, don't be worried about interrupting me.
Okay, okay.
Totally okay.
Yeah,
um
okay.
but a lot of
Good to know.
time people just want to just relax, sit back, relax, and listen. um
Yeah.
so then the way that we co-create in this process is that, if something comes up for you and you interrupt me and you tell me, like, yeah, this is coming up for me, I will be listening for what you're sharing, and then letting that inform whatever comes next.
Perfect.
And then
Yeah.
if there's like a pause point where I say, I check in with you, and then you can tell me if something I said needs some clarification, whether just how I explained it, or maybe it just makes no sense to you. Then I'll go probing deeper in that area that you want more
All
information
right.
on. And or a new question has arisen from what I've just said, and then you can say, well, okay, so all that you said makes sense perhaps, but can you explain this other thing?
Yeah.
So that's how we will kind of co-direct the session.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes I notice that there's something in my client's field that also could use perhaps like a little healing support, a kind of energetic intervention. And if that's the case in any of the things that we're seeing for you, then I'll let you know, and you have a choice if you would like me to do some energetic intervention in your field.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be, but sometimes it comes up, so I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll just basically be flowing in this spiraling way through the images.
I feel super excited.
Yes, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad. And so when there's a feeling that that we're both satisfied with the outcome, with the degree and the level of answers, then that's sort of when we wrap up.
Yeah.
More or less around between the hour starting from now, so to speak,
Mhm.
2 hour and a half. And then at the end, if there's anything more that you'd like to share, whether it's about your experience listening to the images, or there's some pieces from your lived experience that you want to share with me in response to the images, or something that's like, oh, you saw this and that's actually happening in my life, or no, you know what, you saw this and I haven't, I can't relate to that at all of that is welcome as well. I love hearing feedback. I It helps me grow as a psychic practitioner. So whether you resonate or don't resonate, it's totally fine for you to tell me. And
Good, good. Yeah.
and ultimately, you take from the session whatever is useful and leave anything that isn't. And then that's how we'll complete. And that's basically how this works with me. Any
Yeah.
questions from your side?
Sounds no, sounds great. Like feels very clear to
Okay,
me.
beautiful, beautiful.
Feels good. Yeah.
Excellent. So then what I'll do before we get started is I'm just going to take a couple of moments in silence to reconnect with the energetic space that I've built up for this
Mhm.
reading. I will say a prayer for our time together, and then I will ask you to tell me your full name 3 times. I will prompt you when I'm ready, and
Okay.
it will allow me to open up the gates to these images.
Hmm.
Oh, and also if at any point you need a break, you have an interruption, something happens that you need to get up out of your desk or whatever, um,
Yeah.
just tell me, let me know, and we'll pause the session for the time that you need
Yeah.
to, just go to the bathroom or grab a drink of water or something. Um,
Perfect.
just don't disappear on me.
No, 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 no. I won't do that. No, no, no. I'm here. I'm in meditative posture,
Beautiful. Okay, so
sitting
then
comfortably. Yeah.
excellent. Then we'll get ourselves going. Okay, so the color that I was seeing for you is like a saturated, very sweet pink color, um, with like almost like a magenta, but more pastel than that, and blended with some shades of orange, like almost like coming into like a coral color. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very beautiful, very rich tones, very heart-centered colors that I'm seeing here for you, and with definitely like overtones of a lot of creativity, a lot of drive and desire to make things happen in the world, to just kind of create for the sake of creating.
Mm.
And yeah, and so yeah, definitely your heart centeredness shines through at this time. So what I'm going to start focusing my attention on the images, and so I'm going to start first by calling up an image of a flower, which is the symbolism to represent a snapshot of your energy right now. And I'm going to just kind of play around bringing up other elements for your question. So let's get started with a flower for you. Okay, so this is a beautiful colored image. I'm seeing like oftentimes when I see the images, they do represent something of the energetic style or signature of the person I'm working with, and so these are just like the aesthetic is very clear here. Just to say, they're very elegant, beautiful, kind of artistic images that are coming up for you.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and a lot is coming up, so I'll do my best to try to speak to it all, or try to really highlight the most important parts. So the flower that I'm seeing for you um, is in the shape of a poppy, It actually looks to me, even though it's quite big, for like, flower sized, right?
Mm.
Um, it reminds me of a particular kind of poppy, which is the California poppy. It's like in real life, they're kind of little and they have this kind of golden tone to their petals. I don't know if you know them, and if not, I can just show you a photo when we finish.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they're very elegant, very delicate, and medicinal as all poppies are, but yeah, in a specific way. Um, and so I'm seeing like a tall stem and this beautiful, elegant flower kind of swaying in a breeze. And there are some interesting elements happening around it, which is one, it looks like there's almost like shards of glass hovering around the flower, but it makes it look almost as though this flower had been at one point encased in glass and has now broken out of the glass, and the
Mm.
glass is still kind of hovering in midair. Now you did speak to this process that you're in of moving into a collective living, and this could be relevant to that, but I will explore it further to know what that means. And the other thing that's coming up here in this image is how lush the ground looks around this flower. Um, but the impression that I get from this, the fact that there's like grass and other flowers growing sort of around at the feet, it's like it feels like me to me like you have almost this quality, and I don't know if like it feels to me like it's part of the answer to your question of the leadership thing. But it's a multifaceted energy that is being shown, and that is that you have a capacity to actually quote fertilize the spaces you're in. That it's like you show up into a situation, and it can be as easy as a gathering between friends, or as complex as a project at work, and there's something about your presence that starts to make things work better.
Mm.
Um, that it's like it is problem solving in a way, but there's something even more organic to it. It's almost like, yeah, I want to say like a flower fairy, like just you go into a space and things start growing better just because of these little gestures, little things that you do, encouragement that you give people. I'm seeing like a lot of like your warmth going towards others and looking at them and seeing how they can thrive, almost like seeing them piercing to the core of who they are inside, and just kind of like gently trying to
Mm.
coax their best qualities out. So it's not that you're kind of coming top down, okay, we're going to improve the systems in this place, fill in the blank. Although you do have that capacity, but it's an even softer, more heart-based, more relationally based thing. So
Mm.
now you've shared all these things with me about what, that you're doing this holistic coaching, that you're doing circling, that you're doing all these different things. So it feels to me like this is quite aligned with this heart, this gift from your heart that shines through. Um, and it's quite immediate to be seen here. Now, what I'm seeing though, which is interesting, is that the there's a level to which you're extremely happy and grateful that you can engage with life in this way, from this kind of like holistic love and soul-centered way. But there's a feeling also of like the level of love that you put out is not actually commensurate with the love that comes in.
Mm. Yes.
And that's not to say that you don't have like good people in your life. Again, I'm seeing like a vibrant ecosystem around you. I'm seeing like shining beings, basically flowers, leaves, plants, and these all represent kind of like the environment that you find yourself in. And it's not a barren or a deserted landscape by any means, but there is a feeling of like this flower wishes it could get a little bit more back of what it puts out.
Mm.
This is important for your coming process because it's like you need as much of that receptive um act, that receptive energy to manifest what comes next. The what comes next is going to be more demanding of you, and so being resourced and having that inward flow, input, feedback loop kind of feeling, that feels extremely important and just like a high priority for where you're going. Okay, so I'm just gonna explore a little bit more what's being shown before I get more targeted with questions. I want to explore a little bit about the glass that is hovering in midair, and yeah, and some of the other pictures showing up. Yeah, so the glass. Hmm. As I poked the glass to kind of probe it a little bit, I did get the picture of like Cinderella's glass slipper. Yeah, and so I'm wondering if part of this has to do with your desire for a partnership and that this is also part of what's kind of present in your soul space right now. I'm just gonna explore a little bit more. So there's that Cinderella slipper. Hmm. Well, a lot of things are coming up that are really very much relational. I'm seeing as I probed the image further, I saw an image of a fly, and flies have come up in other readings for me when there's like issues of like a partnership where the partner isn't as mature.
Mhm.
They might be like a little bit, yeah, like it's like you love them, but oh god, they're so annoying in some way. And so it feels like you've had this experience maybe not just once, but that it's
Yeah.
like a repeating pattern for you that has kind of like left its mark on, and it's good that you're breaking out into a different, it looks from this image that it's actually good for you that you've broken out of that paradigm and
Mm,
into a different way that you want to carry your path forward. It feels like it's aligned with your soul to not kind of cycle in the loop of being coming into a desire for conscious partnership and then finding yourself stuck in these kind of um, unequal partnerships,
mm,
with no
mm,
judgment to the person on the other side, just being at different places, maybe. There's a lot to be said, of course, in the world for like how men are socialized or how, we are
mm,
in general
mm.
socialized to be in relationship. Mm,
Yeah.
I'm just taking a sip of water. Hang on. Yeah, so then that's showing up and it feels like that's all is informing your leadership coming in the next little time. And so yeah, the other image is sort of it just kind of echoes that a little bit, and it's an image of a cat holding like a fish skeleton in its mouth. Like, like a street cat trying to scrounge up food. And this feeling also that the what's happened for you, again, this is again themes of nourishment and themes of like energy flowing into you as much as you put out or as much as you'd like to put out, because what I'm feeling right now as I'm exploring these is that you become quite clear on your boundaries,
Mm,
quite over time, over repeated disappointing experiences, quite clear on your boundaries, quite clear on taking responsibility for your own space, and just kind of like more scrappy than maybe you would have been at a younger age.
what is scrappy? What does that
Scrappy.
mean?
Okay, so that's like an English word to talk about like it's a kind of assertiveness, like street smart.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, sort of like, like, yeah, I might be nice, but don't mess with me kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But in your heart, you are so giving though. This is coming up so strongly. Like your heart wants to just overflow and wishes that it did not have to put these boundaries, and they're kind of
Yeah.
well, it feels stupid. And so it's like there's something that hurts you a little bit every time that you have to be like, oh, here's another person who I have to kind of educate on how to interact with me.
Yeah.
And then there's like a disappointment, like a slight bitterness, and then I see you as a, like it shows here how vibrant these colors are. Like your energy is vibrant, you're spiritually connected, um your shining presence, and and so then that kind of feels like it constricts you a little bit, or makes you kind of like go like, aren't we supposed to be equals in this? Aren't we supposed to be? And this is not just with partners, although it's what's coming up is the analogy of like the Cinderella slipper. Yeah, there's it's come up in partnerships, but it can come up in friendships too, and it comes up in the work that you're doing too, in the circling work. Especially
Mm.
the more intimacy you go into, you get more glimpses of that open-hearted love that is kind of your birthright and your gift.
Mm.
But also more tangled messiness where you have to put your foot down.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's like going deeper and kind of like into the belly of the beast. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Um, okay, and so here I'm seeing, as I'm speaking to this, I'm seeing an image of a rooster and then a big cat. Um, I'm asking, is this rooster representing you or a person in your life? Um, this feels like a person in your life who's had a bit more like selfishness, or like it doesn't feel like a full-on narcissist, and I hesitate to label anybody that. I want to be very fair to people and their struggles. But if we just kind of take like narcissistic traits, like somebody who's just kind of very much taking up a lot of space, taking a lot of air from the room, feels like there's been in particular one person in your life that's
Yeah.
in your recent life who's been that for you, and then the cat is you in these images, and you're so big, like like a house cat, like a beautiful big fluffy house cat with like, she's like gray with dark stripes and has like white paws and a white muzzle, and just like she's beautiful, and she's humongous compared to this little rooster.
Eh.
And when I see that, when it comes to relationships, I see that usually for, people, the person who's bigger is the person who's like more relationally integrated, more mature, and the smaller person's the more like they still have work to do. So this is how it shows up in my pictures.
Yeah.
So this is just showing that you've had this one relationship in particular where it's like you're the bigger person, but this person takes up all the space and all the air out of the room. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that energy is still very much present in your field right now, and kind of coming up right now as you're asking a question of leadership. So I'm curious, and I'm gonna start asking some clarifying questions of this psychic space to show us about what does this all saying about your leadership, and or what other perspectives about your next steps of leadership are available to us today. So I'm just going to take a moment to connect and pray for an image that I'm going to start with a color. Yeah, let's do that. Pray for a color that gives us a thread of connection, a signal towards your highest soul purpose on planet Earth. Okay, and so I'm asking, show me a color for Sophie's soul purpose for coming to this planet. Hmm. Very interesting. So I'm getting a lot of star imagery, like nebulas, stars, starry sky, glowing in the dark, beautiful colors. But what's coming up is super interesting. Um, there's an indigo blue, very rich,
Mm.
velvety. And there's a black, and this is an uncommon color for me to see in this context. And lots and lots of stars. I do have a feeling that you have a very strong, I don't know if you relate to this as a concept, but if we even use it as a metaphor, like a very strong star seed connection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I feel
you
that.
resonate with that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm seeing this like everywhere in the feel and the colors of your energy. Like I want to say yes, star seed, but also because I'm seeing a lot of this flowering, fertility, like I almost want to say like elemental alignment as well, like fairy type realms are very much your thing. So anyways, starseed is where we're at. And I'm seeing this black and this blue. And the black is super powerful and beautiful. So, I don't know if you have any associations with black. If there's any negative ones, don't worry, these are not them. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to sample this color and ask it to show me symbols of what this represents for you on planet Earth. And immediately there's an image of a big tornado, just like
Mm.
this powerful nature expression. Um, and the tornado is there to uproot darkness. Uh,
Yeah.
so there's such a beautiful kind of um yeah, it's hard to articulate. It's so rich. So black here is speaking about power, about protecting what matters. It's speaking about also, as I used the word fertility earlier, and this is also that. So it's about this kind of like this deep, receptive yin container that can birth all kinds of life. And I think this seems quite important considering that you're desiring to become a mom. Um, and so there's these two sides to it. One of them is like a more active, I stand for what matters, this kind of like standing up, being counted, and embodying deep, deep powerfulness.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very, very strong. And so it's like it goes into even just kind of this tornado, like being wild, being a lot, having safe places where you can express that animal instinct, that sensuality or eroticism as well, and rage if need be, and
Mm.
definitely the boundaries piece. So it looks here as though almost this is part of what you've been learning through your relational processes is to claim that also at a day-to-day level. So there might be places where you can dance wildly or be in nature and be just kind of like your full embodied animal self, but also
Yeah.
but also there's the like sometimes if you just go to the store, maybe that's not so easy. Like,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately. But then that signature energy can come into the ways that you kind of embody the person who will not be messed with, the person who knows that their life force is precious and who defends um, the right of that which matters to exist. The blue that I was also tapping into, this feels like it relates a little bit more to knowledge and wisdom. So bringing in also like systems of knowledge, um, let's say psychology from ancient traditions, from historical sources, from like symbolism and all these different systems of knowledge to weave together ways that you communicate that knowing. And so there's these are the blue and the black, they're not the same, but they work together. So it's almost like you have this primary process happening through this black energy that is all about power and fertility. And then on the other hand, you have this blue energy, which is more about wisdom and values and systems of knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm just asking to be shown anything else that I've missed so far about this. There is also very much a piece about channeling for you. It looks like there's a piece. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know if you enjoy channeling as an activity, but even for people who are not like psychic channelers as a thing that they do on a regular basis, I see this in the expression of like artists or creatives, or even, you know, people who are just really open to being connected to other realms to receive insight and inspiration and innovation. So there's something there about you where you haven't necessarily like, I guess, I need to be careful how I word this, because like this is not, there's a lot out there I feel about like channeled knowledge, and there's varying levels of quality to it. Um,
Mm, mm.
so I have to be careful to kind of try to give you the right idea. There's like something where you have like this direct link back to the stars, and I'm seeing like an open telephone, you know, just like there, like literally, like jokingly, like ET phone home kind of, right? And so there's this thing here about this idea of the download of inspiration, that you have access to this. And so um I'm thinking, so how do I do justice to how I want to communicate this? I'm thinking that it feels not so much like here I am, the next person who channeled the next, you know, set of laws of the universe or something like that, but that there are creative leaps that you can make, spiritual healing leaps as well, and truly information that is unique sort of to you and your spirit lineage, that you can channel, and that there's a sense that this is like a it's something that you may have tapped into, but not necessarily something that you trust fully. And yet it's there, and this feels like it's part of um, the path ahead for you. So
Yeah, can I just share something there?
yes, please go ahead.
Because it comes to me when I hear you now talking about this.
Mm-hmm,
I have like a lot of creative expression through writing. And about
mm-hmm,
10 years ago, or even more, there was this kind of book coming to me. I felt it was just like an idea in the space
mm-hmm,
that wanted to be channeled through me.
mm-hmm,
And I have written almost the whole book, like 300
mm-hmm,
pages, but I
mm-hmm.
just can't finish it.
Ah,
And I've been struggling so much with finishing it. And I have a relationship to this book. Like I'm speaking to the book.
yeah.
And quite a few times I've asked it, like, can you please move on to someone else? Because I don't seem to be able to finish it. But
Uh-huh.
it has just stayed, like it hasn't moved on. So I feel it really wants it to be me, but
Mm.
I'm stuck in finishing it.
Ah, okay. So you would like me to ask also about finishing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I will ask. But yeah, this feels very much exactly like what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gave
Yeah.
me a really good example. And it feels like that when I'm seeing the like the phone's off the hook, you know, it's like an old timey phone, not a cell
Yeah.
phone. And it's like just pointing up at the sky and dialing, it's still channeling. So yeah, this is definitely you. This is definitely your part of your work and your leadership. So let's go to this phone and pose the question of this book and its full completion. What would be the pathway through which you could fulfill this big living channeling task that you already have embarked on. So the book looks like, yeah, I'm seeing it sort of like with little chunks missing at the bottom. Um, and there's a feeling more so than an image. It's like if I look, it's spatially, it's sort of like somewhere below, and it's like a bubble, a dense bubble of energy. And just probing into it. Interesting, very interesting. So like I probed it and at first I was like feeling as though there's some emotional pieces for you, emotional pieces where there's like the completion of this project demands of you that then you bring it into the world. It demands a level of that black energy, that assertiveness, and a fierceness that at the time felt like not like you just it feels like it's like if you're doing a workout at the gym and you just can't do that last rep, that kind of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, as I looked inside this bubble, it looked like there was a baby in
Oh,
it. So this is tied in with your baby somehow. And I'm getting
right.
chills just like saying that out loud. There so
Wow.
somehow or another, this book is also a co-creation with the child that's wanting to come through you.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, and so I'm looking at this baby and I'm seeing them almost in two forms, or like that there's two spirits here.
Mm.
Like I don't know if this means, you know, you'd have two kids or if there's just one kind of they're trying to decide which one gets to come in through. Um
Yeah.
and the baby's like swimming around in water with a little snorkel, and you are up and also on the surface of the water swimming. And the baby is just kind of farther behind, kind of swimming in circles like a little kid would, just playing. But also looking for something like almost like, yeah, there's a timing situation here to do with like you come first and the baby's working on something, the soul of your baby is working on something where they're
Yeah.
ready to come in yet. Uh
Yeah, because it's been delayed, the process.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like
I don't need to tell more right now, but it's been delayed in a way that I didn't expect. And then this
yeah,
is
the
what I've
baby's like
received
sort of
myself, that this is about timing. Yeah.
yeah, the baby's like swimming in circles working on a thing that they're working on and they're not where you are. Yeah, and so this there's a parallel between your motherhood journey and the book. They're not the motherhood piece and coming onto the other side and being a mother will show you some of the that those pushing through or courage pieces that you're going to need for the book. But also, there's something here too about almost like you're writing this for your baby.
Oh, yeah.
It feels
I
that.
can see that. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and in a maybe in a bigger way than you either one of us could imagine right now.
Mm,
So it feels like to me like a conscious conversation with the soul of your child will help you move the process along. Whereas it's okay if your book's not finished yet, but it's also it's like, how do I put it? Sometimes we push ourselves to finish something creative because we have judgments about ourselves if we don't.
yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
little bit of that going on for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, also the book itself has its own timing.
That's true. Yeah.
And yet also your soul desires to work on it. It's joyful at the possibility of also embodying this identity. Like it's almost like a unveiling of who you truly are.
Yeah.
To be this person who can bridge heaven and earth, so to speak, and bring
Yes.
unmanifested things into the planet. And when I said earlier, you know, you have this fertility type of energy, that's what I was talking about. That's like the key to what you're here to do is bringing unmanifest things into manifestation, and that's that fertility. Um,
Yeah.
and so that when you do so, when you like kind of publish this book, for example, then it's like a claiming and a coming out of the closet for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's some of what you didn't have the kind of the inner resources yet to do so, but your soul wants to move on that. So it's almost like taking a gentle pace of reapproaching and to do that a conversation with your unborn child, um, and a co-creation or collaboration with them is being invited. It's being invited. So it's like even if your baby takes a little bit longer, you could already talk to them about this book directly. Yeah.
That's so cool. I never thought like I am talking to the book and I am talking to the baby, but it never occurred to me to talk with the baby about the book. But I love that.
It wouldn't have occurred to me either, trust me. But yeah, it feels like they're parallel and yet intertwined. So yeah, it looks like something very, very unique is unfolding for you in this realm, and it's very exciting to see. I mean, again, as I just mentioned, it's like there is a very unique, special kind of out of the box co-creation thing happening here. Yeah, and also it seems to me like this is also part of your strengths to kind of talk to unborn children somehow or another. Like I feel like in between lives you might have been like a children's guardian or a mentor, like somebody who guided beings who were coming to earth to be born to kind of get ready and how to get ready.
Yeah, that makes me tear up.
uh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful, it is really beautiful. So that looks like that's part of you, and so that's like a kind of midwifing, and that in turn impacts your coaching work. It's once again we have this kind of meta theme happening of things mirrored with each other. It's like what I'm seeing with you over.
Yeah, I have to tell you there as
Yes.
well that
Yes.
as a child, my biggest dream was to become a midwife.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like since as long as I can remember. But then I had
Mhm.
really severe eczema, and the doctor told me when I was a child that you can never work with anything like in the caring professions where you have to do like cleaning your hands a lot. So I like
Um,
discarded that dream, and
oh.
then I felt, that maybe I wasn't supposed like to be a like physiological midwife, that it's something more symbolic and
Mhm, mhm.
archetypal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you have this kind of birthing energy to you, so if you had gone against the advice, maybe you would have been a great midwife, but this
Yeah.
path you've
Yeah.
chosen is equally worthy and equally resonant to that midwife archetype, so you're very much on point with that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's this, yeah, beautiful energy of you helping people transition into life, where I would imagine that you would also be very good at helping people transition out of life. But I feel like
Mm.
your soul has a special preference for life,
Yeah.
like a special soft spot for bringing things into the material and getting your hands dirty in this plane, a special love for the what it does to you to be embodied. And that's where I also see some of this elemental connection, like the fairy elemental realms are feel like maybe something that I don't know if you've explored it as much as perhaps the star seed, but it feels like you do have a very strong connection to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So okay, so then I'm gonna just continue on the thread of what we are asking about in terms of your next steps in embodying your leadership and asking if there's more to be known at this time about that. Anything more that um stands in your path that is to be overcome or taken into account. So I'm just going to take um draw in my mind's eye a timeline or a pathway and have the pathway move under a threshold or door. That's going to represent where you're at now and where you're going. And the image that emerges is so interesting once again. I just want to tell you as an aside, your images are just beautiful. It's a delight to just kind of
To
interact
hear.
with them.
Yeah.
So, as I'm seeing you on this pathway, what comes up is that you're such a pivotal place right now. And the pathway is looking to me, if you imagine like a big, beautiful, but just intense waterfall. And there's this path that kind of is crafted out of stone. So if you imagine like an old temple, like temple ruins or something, and then it goes over the top of that waterfall and sometimes kind of almost over the edge. And the path looks like as though you have to kind of jump from stone to stone. So it's like it's not an unbroken path of where you're at right now. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to and I see the threshold, in fact, kind of like moving away from you. So it looks like there's a process that you need to do first before kind of getting to the safe ground that's really going to look like your emergence into the world. It's not like this is not part of your leadership path, but it feels like you're having an idea of how, when things are working, are running smoothly in your circling work that you're working on in your community, perhaps even your holistic coaching, like all of that. That's like it's a ways away before you're kind of passing under the arch of that threshold.
Yeah.
Because there's some of this work to be done first. But I'm going to explore this waterfall and in these kind of broken path temple piece, pathway, and ask the images what this represents. And oh my god, so like the first thing that comes out is like a boxing glove out of the side of the waterfall. It looks like something is like I'm not sure if this is like your energy or something else that's actually kind of pummeling you.
I have done boxing.
You have done boxing? No
Yeah. Yeah.
way. Okay, yes, very in line with that strong black energy. Very good. Okay, so let me just kind of probe this. Okay, so this is something that you've done already, and I just want to see if this represents like your practice of it or if it represents something else. Hmm, it feels like you are in the stream of a lot of people's intentions somehow or another. It doesn't mean that you are following those intentions. That's, you're on this path and it's like this temple road. So, for you, it feels very sacred. It is worthwhile and it is old and long standing. So it's the that path feels like it's very much an affirmation that you are on your path, that you are on the right path. And yet, this path kind of crosses through this tricky crossing of it feels like a twofold thing, the waterfall. On one hand, I was saying other people's intentions. So it's like it's almost like you're pulling yourself out of kind of like consensus reality in terms of relationships in general.
Mm.
And kind of like you're using your strength, and I think that's what the boxing is all about. You're using your own healthy aggression, almost, as we were saying before.
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
Healthy aggression.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
right? A healthy level of aggression, boundaries, etc.,
Mm,
to um bring yourself out of this place where it's like everybody's rowing in the opposite direction from you. And it's because of your energetic sensitivity, even though you don't necessarily follow somebody else's intentions for you or do whatever other people say, or that you're actually defending your space, you're in like almost like in the jet stream of their energy,
mm,
and you're in this big process of pulling out of that. And that's also why it's like punching. This feels also related to this other relationship that I was seeing earlier with the person with the more narcissistic traits, that
mm,
kind of derailed you a bit. For a time you're kind of bringing yourself back. And also this has to do with money as well. This has to do with kind of like social, financial, kind of very material, like who supports you for doing the thing that you're doing. Um, and so what this is saying is like get to higher ground. That yeah, especially in terms of like the change in career and all that. Um this is an incredible encouragement to just kind of like take nobody's opinion.
mhm,
Like,
mm.
you know, plug your ears and like sing la la la, I'm not listening, like, basically. Um, because the actual troubles and obstacles that you might find on your leadership path, for the next little while, they're really about you separating the clarity of your intention out of other people's kind of like the massive amounts of other people's kind of chaotic intentions or unclear
Mm,
intentions. And I
mm,
to say it at this level because it is that abstract. It is like almost like a felt sense of like, is this space, is this person, living in this current of grace and alignment,
mm.
or aren't they? And if they're not, then I don't want to follow anything they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And uh and and so what I'm hearing is that there's a part of you that's still kind of like grappling with, well, how can I compromise, how can I not compromise, negotiate that daily life kind of realities, the money, the jobs, those kinds of things.
Mhm, mm.
And this is saying like you're going to navigate it in the same way that you would if you were kind of like walking this ledge of this ancient temple, jumping from stone to stone. So what does that look like? Agility, um, being extremely open to like little windows of opportunity,
Mm,
um, where, like, and this is really like extreme trusting your gut, extreme, like, if it doesn't feel amazing, don't. If
yeah.
it doesn't, and so it's like any part of you that were like, oh, I'm going to do this just because it's strategically right, but it doesn't feel great, don't do it.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So this is very much what is being shown, that you're kind of like navigating this rough patch where you only have to kind of like jump from thing to thing that feels right. And this is going to eventually land you into a place of more stability where it's like you've built your vision around you, or you've
Yeah.
landed in a dimension where your vision is what do you call it? It's like a loving environment for your vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Mm.
Okay, good. Let me just ask if there's any more there about next steps for you. Um, hmm. Like, I want to see if there's anything that could ease that process of jumping, accelerate it for you, make it more, yeah, just even stronger. Okay, so then what else is coming is also like your compassion for other people's suffering, and especially like kind of like the state of the world.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, the wanting to be ethical, wanting to be values driven, wanting to be a force for good for the world.
Mm.
This is a double-edged sword for you because in some ways it puts you in that same paradigm where other people are. This is super weird to talk about in this way, and I hope that it's making sense how I'm saying it, because it's not about you not having compassion. It's not about you kind of suddenly being like, oh, all the things that I'm doing for the benefit of other human beings or living beings, I'm going to throw them out the window. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you have to discard these values that are really coming from a place of care, but it's this is happening very much at a level of like consciousness and vibration.
Mm.
Once again, I've had to kind of navigate fine edges in almost everything I've said to you, the channeling and the black energy and all these things where it's like, well, if I just said it to you, I don't know if it would land because there's so many, these are charged things to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to say though that there is, it just with as you're in a process of like owning your ability to manifest and channel, there's also an aspect of also you coming into a deeper ownership of consciousness levels and frequencies.
Mm.
And that then, if we're kind of tapping into the pulse of the suffering of the world,
Mm.
then we in parts help to reproduce that in our
Mm.
consciousness, right?
I
Um,
get that. Yeah.
yes, okay, good. And so then if we come to our values from a place of a lot more yeah, like joy and knowing that life is absolutely buoyant and supportive and loving, then more healing can be affected and you are not affected by, like, you're not dragged down by the gravity of everybody being like the world's going to shit. um
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I just feel like saying something there really
please
quick.
go ahead, please go ahead.
So I'm almost 40 now, and ever since I was 20, I've been working like in the human rights field, and I've worked a
Mhm.
lot with like women and girls who have been subjected to violence.
Mm,
And yeah, so a lot of focus on that kind of injustice and wanting to, stand up for kind
yeah.
of the right to live a life free from violence and so on. But
Mhm.
2 years ago, I left that because I felt it was kind of too dark and too focused on
Mm,
yeah, just what you're saying now. So I changed to work that is more like administrative, and I
yeah.
don't really feel very good there, but it's not focused on the suffering. So I'm like
um
looking like I'm on this stepping stone, and then I want to like move on into like these
Definitely.
things we're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you already have a pre-existing understanding of what I'm trying to say. That doesn't make it sound bad.
No,
Um,
no, no, not at all. Not at all.
good, good. Okay. Yes, yes, and that's absolutely true. And like the like with the image at the beginning, with the flower breaking out of the glass, what I'm seeing here is that what will it accelerate and support your ongoing journey and jumping from stepping stone to stepping stone, which is, what you'll be doing for a time as you kind of get out of that frequency, is that any and all work that you can do at an energetic level with your energy field to continue affirming the the new principles of this expansive, loving, and connected life, and releasing or removing any attachments or any kind of lingering residues of those other things. Because what I feel is when you worked in this field, which was again very much aligned with that soul purpose and the protecting of what is right and what matters, I'm like, that's very much part of who you are as a soul. But also you touch so much of the darkest of the dark,
Yeah.
and that it doesn't matter how positive we ourselves are, it does leave a mark in our energy field.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so it looks to me like even if you already feel like you yourself are like back to your vibrant self, your field deserves some extra cleanup. And I don't know if you've been doing any work with that.
Like in one way, I'm in that all the time, but
Hmm.
now when you're like addressing it, I feel like it feels new
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, and that might be part of this kind of new level, new layer. Again, it's also not to pathologize you or to be like, oh, I need to purify myself or something. It's just more like acknowledging that um, your energy field had to be configured in a particular way in order to do the work that you've done.
Yeah,
And
because I feel,
yeah.
I've been in a lot of like kind of support,
Mhm.
how to tell you. Yeah, I've been with people in really, really, really dark places, like people who have been objected to incest and sexual violence and so on. So I feel I have a huge capacity to be with people in these places, like that
Yeah.
I'm not pulling
Yeah.
away out of fear. I can really be with them there and
Yes.
witness them and support them and so on. But it's also been kind of yeah, it has affected me on an
Yeah.
energetic level that I feel kind of like a hurt warrior somehow, that I'm
Mhm.
tired from having
Exactly.
been in this.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yes, that's exactly right. And so that's what we want to address, and this is what it looks like to me is like as you're crossing the waterfall, which is kind of the stage that you're in right now, it's like a liminal stage.
Yeah.
Um, that's the work. Is nourishment for that hurt warrior inside, rest, and a lot of um, really kind of recycling of those energies out of your field and giving them back to spirit or to the earth to recycle. Um, and it's almost like, I've seen this a lot in my healing work. It's like people who are beautiful, great, vibrant, brilliant healers themselves and who have done such hard things in their life. And then it's like, if we have like a scar and that scar is like tight, and then everything in the body just kind of adapts to that. And then it's like, well, we don't feel it anymore because we've normalized it. And
Yeah.
so now you kind of wanting to restore yourself to even like a pre-scar space.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and yeah, and I imagine that what you've done in that field will still inform what you're going to do, what you're going to continue doing, but it's just going to be coming from a completely different consciousness place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. All right. And so I'm asking also just to before we wrap up, I'm gonna ask if there's anything here wanting to be addressed in terms of financial opportunities and things that will make you feel like you're supported on that path.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So as I asked that, and I'm seeing, I'm still seeing you on the waterfall, on the path above the waterfall. And so it's like you're sort of at the beginning of this waterfall. Like, let's say if I divide it up into like 10 sections, you're like first 10th.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be that linear how you cross it. So don't worry, it doesn't mean that
Mm.
it's gonna take like 9 more whatever units. Um, but so then a little bit down the line, like a couple more sections down, I'm seeing this influx coming out from the right, in my picture, from the right, of money, but it feels like almost like there's a possibility for you to get like a loan or a grant of some kind.
All right. Yeah.
Like yeah, to get funding for the projects that you're doing that would also include a salary for you.
All
Uh,
right.
this
Yeah.
feels really strong, actually. Um, this feels like apply even if you think you're not going to get it. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting, and be
Yeah.
kind of prolific in your applications. Um, and then and definitely still kind of feeling kind of this like not for profit, almost like EU level type work feels kind of relevant.
Did you
Um,
say new level?
I said EU, like European Union
Not EU
level.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to looking in that direction, and I'm hearing also like consultation work for nonprofits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen that as well as yeah, possibility. Yeah.
that's what's coming the strongest for you for right now. As
Wow.
you cross the waterfall, this feels like what will enable you to boost your way through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really actually quite a lot of people have kind of asked me like, you don't want to start your own organization where you can just create like
Mm-hmm.
a healthy environment and be,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Very
kind of
interesting.
doesn't need
Yeah.
to be that, but
No, it doesn't need to be that. I mean, you could with this big picture that I'm seeing, like the crossing of the waterfall. It feels like there's chapters to it, and so it feels to me like initially you could have like like to have a grant for a smaller project, not starting a whole nonprofit. But if that was in your heart, then that could be the right direction.
yeah, yeah, let's see. Like when people have said that it hasn't re resonated really strong in me,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it goes into what you're saying about a
Yeah.
project and yeah, starting something because I
Well,
feel I want to do things in a way that most of society aren't doing it that way.
yeah.
So it's
Yes,
kind
no,
of, I need to be
absolutely.
kind of outside of the system to do it my way.
Yes, absolutely. And so this really feels like another stepping stone. It doesn't feel like it's the end goal at all. So that's why I'm saying it feels smaller than starting your nonprofit because that's a huge commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels more like, okay, it's like if you could have like apply for a grant for something temporary that is more part-time, um
Yeah.
something that you collaborate with somebody else on, and additionally I'm also hearing this kind of idea of like you consulting for nonprofits to help them level up in the areas that you're extremely capable on.
Yeah.
um and again, that it would be kind of like contract based type work. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
good. And I think this is where also this is part of the feeling of like you even coming out of the closet a bit more, kind of getting that a little boost of healthy pride where you can like almost bluff a little bit to to bring yourself into those places and get that kind of, yeah, sense of like kick ass um person in your career level. um
Yeah.
yes, this is very much part of the picture, but I'm asking, is there something else too? So like I am seeing you working as just really like your own boss, your own business, and I'm seeing that working out but it's like a slow start as you cross the waterfall. Like it's not like in 3 months you could live off of this.
No, no, I don't feel that either.
It feels like a slow start, but it doesn't feel at all out of your reach. It feels very much doable, and it's really part of you kind of um, gaining traction with your vision. And it's like it includes that channeling piece. It includes your um, deeper ownership of your boundaries, all the things that we've said today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
let me know, are you feeling sort of complete with our session today?
I think so. There's so much you have shared that really resonates with me. And I feel I've been mostly like in a very receptive mode, just like taking it all in deeply.
Mhm.
So I feel there are like so many gems here that I just want to kind of be with and integrate and like, yeah, continue to look at.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, I feel super happy.
I'm
It
so
felt like very affirming.
yay! Yeah. Well, I am extremely happy to have had the chance to read for you. As I said, your energy and your images are quite unique and vibrant, and so I'm just more than happy to support someone like you in doing the good work that you're doing and bringing in the
Thank you
magic.
so
Bring it.
much.
Yes.
Very
So
happy and thankful for this reading.